an expert in domain of marriage counseling and the Secretary General of the Cameroon Pentecostal Association. We're glad to have you with us once again.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my fellow panelists, and good evening, our people out there always listening to us and getting back to us to appreciate what we're doing. We salute you this evening, and we say stay tuned and get the best of what we have for you today.
We are also in the company of Reverend Tato Kenneth, who is an expert in the domain. We're glad to have you, Reverend.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you. Good evening to these great servants of God with whom we're going to be sharing on this stuff tonight. We greet all our viewers. We also greet the technical team that are always there, very apt to do things to happen. We are so glad, and we know that tonight we are going to have another sweat time again.
The Love Doctor, all the way from the Southwest region, is also in the house. Apostle Lefo Divine. Good evening. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. It's always an honor. I am glad to be here again, all the way from Boya. It's an amazing time, a beautiful topic, and we are looking forward to a very amazing time. We want to celebrate all the viewers all over the world. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for always being there. And we are sure that we're going to share wisdom, knowledge, and understanding again today with the matters touching the heart. Thank you.
We're also going to be having contributions from Bomen and the Northwest regional capital from Reverend Apostle Sanji Yvette, who is always on standby to contribute. They say birds of the same feather flock together now. So she's part of this. If you guys are all apostles, she should be, yes. So, Reverend Apostle, everybody's laughing in the studio. Counselor Asanji Yvette, we salute you and your husband and the kids out there in Bomeda, Northwest Regional Capital. We are also going to be hearing from you in the course of the program, Apostle Lambe Valentine Angwa. The value that is placed on the institution that is called marriage today, many persons have a feeling that it is quickly declining. Is that the impression you have also?
Yes, Mr. Liu, absolutely. It's not an impression, it's a reality. Okay. With facts on ground and the things that unfold every day in our society, marriage is gradually, the value for marriage of the party is gradually declining. Okay. And I think by the grace of God today, we have to explore this topic to make people understand why marriages are declining, or the value for marriage is declining in the society. First, I will make us understand that the things that we usually get through marriage is now gotten too cheap. Yeah. In those days, to make love, you definitely have to get married to make love. But sex has become so cheap until you can pick it in the street like stones. The Bible says in the days of Solomon, he was so wealthy until silver became stones in Jerusalem. In those days, sex was something very sacred. Very, very sacred, and it was difficult to access a woman until you marry her. And that is the reason why most people will definitely want to marry, because they want to enjoy sex and also give birth to children. So the issue right now is that what actually pushed men to get married in those days has become so cheap that you don't need to get married to get it. As a matter of fact, there are people who are professional prostitutes who are being paid meager sums of money for you to have sex. Somebody said when you enter into South Africa, you step into the city of Johannesburg or Durban, one of the cheapest commodity in the street is sex. That's why there is a high rate of HIV and AIDS in the nation, because there is a widespread of sex. We are not in the days where it was difficult for you to access a woman. You would definitely have to go through some processes and be able to marry her, which a woman getting married as a virgin was a prestige in those days. This time around, it has become very cheap. Equally, people also wanted to get married because they wanted to give birth to children. This time around, it is easier to get children without being married. As a matter of fact, you can have 3 children at a blow with 3 different men carrying pregnancies for you, who definitely you are not the one who is going to spend. As a matter of fact, the women are going to carry the children, women are going to carry the children, give birth to them, sponsor them, and then come and give you when the children have grown very well. So that lack of irresponsibility in men anymore, that has caused life to be so cheap, has caused marriages to decline. So people don't even have value again for marriage. And then secondly, we are in the jet age where a lot of ills concerning marriages have been exposed in the social media.
Yeah.
People did not know what women went through in marriages in those days as compared to now. Now, when women go through difficulties, they do videos, they do all kinds of write-ups and send, and people access. And then that trauma that some persons go through has also affected others from getting married. Yeah, woman will tell you that for me to get married, I just need for somebody to give me pregnancy, let me give birth to my children. And as a result of that, you now have feminism, where women are rising to defend their interests and protect their rights. I was watching a documentary on my Media Prime the other day, say a community of no men in Kenya. That's a group of women who are marginalized, a particular community. They choose to go and create their own world. That is to let you know that they are no longer interested in marriage. That is because probably they must have suffered abuse in marriage to the extent that they do not see any need sitting under any person. So with the exposure of what people go through in marriages, some girls, some boys have decided just have their children and then stay them back at home and then take care of the children. You say younger will tell, I can't get married. I don't want a handsome man and give birth to a child and then be able to sponsor the child. The interest, that desire for marriage is no longer there. So that's the first 2 points I want to establish as a foundation while we drive this topic forward.
Okay. Apostle Alfred Singe, do you have the same impression that the value that has been placed on marriage is fastly degrading?
Yeah, actually, we must accept that a lot of things are changing. It did not begin today. It began from the time of our colonial masters who brought in the style of marriage, which began making the African type of marriage to become of no value, of no use. Marriage became a thing of materialism. It became a thing of property. It became a thing of wealth instead of a thing of a union, a fellowship, and then maybe posterity or legacy. I want to say that we must understand that as the society evolves, a lot of things evolve, and a lot of knowledge is supposed to go along with evolution. But a lot of people are very ignorant about what marriage is all about. The religious people have stayed behind and they are still taking us in the Garden of Eden. While we are facing the realities of today out there, we see technology, we see a lot of things. A woman will be reading things on the Facebook, on the net, and the husband does not have time for those kind of things. And then she knows things that the husband doesn't know. Is going to create a lot of problems. We used to have innocent virgins who did not know what it means to make love or those kind of things. But today, the virgins, before they even get married or get these virgins, they already know a lot of things. And then marriage becomes very sour if they can't get that same kind of a thing that they used to watch on television or maybe Facebook or the internet. So these kind of things are going to hurt marriages, and of course it is really hurting marriages. Our children know more than us, and even the younger girls who are getting married today, they get married for different purposes and different reasons, which are not the original intention of marriage. A woman will give birth to children and will not even want to breastfeed the children because she doesn't want her breast to fall. That is to tell you that marriage is no longer having the value it's supposed to be. Because a woman gets married for up to about 5 to 10 years, she should be having about 16, 17 children. Or the ones that don't have power, they'll give birth to 9 and 4 and 10. But you know that a lot of planning and everything has come to make marriage look so artificial. Everything is so artificial about marriage today. Marriage is so artificial. People will give birth to children, and then it is a household that's going to take care of them. People will give birth to children, send them to boarding schools, and then go to do their jobs and other things. How do we expect family to become family and family to become a serious thing? That's what we are talking about today. A lot of things have been, the condition for marriage now in the churches have just been whether you have HIV and AIDS or not. Those who don't have HIV and AIDS, they are qualified to get married, provided you have gone to check up and whatever. That's how much marriage has been reduced. Marriage has been reduced to a thing of a champion, who wins and who doesn't win. It has been something of an interest instead of something to build a legacy. Respect for the society, respect for the communities. What do we want to see our society to look like? Like we're talking about nation builders, like you see, we just talked here that Apostle Dr. Ambe is the president of Cameroon Pentecostal Association, which is trying to tell us that we're trying to see how we can build a nation using professionals and to structure them. Family life is one of the things that we're going to be looking into, and to structure a lot of things about family life. So we are saying that Marriage has gone down the drain because of evolution. A lot of things are taking place, and people don't want to learn and update themselves up to that level. You will see a woman will get married and then will cause the husband to be obedient to her, because if she's not obedient to her, they will sanction her in the church, or they'll transfer her to one bush or one village. So if you try me and no place for go, try me. And then now, instead of the bond, the love and the concern and the care, it's fear that controls relationship. That love is not there. You know, you got married 10, 15 years ago, and you still want your marriage to look like 10, 15 years ago. It can never happen like that. That's why marriage is losing the value. You just want to be archaic. You want to be old. And those who used to control their husbands, they still feel that they still have the power to control. Why the husband have the internet in front of him, which he can talk with 1,000 girls without leaving the house? What do you think? Do you think that you can remote control marriage and make it work for you? No. You should be able to grow with the growing trends. You should be able to grow with the things that have come and improved on marriage. Marriage now have been reduced to weddings. When they say somebody's getting married, we're thinking about the weddings. And after that, we don't think about how they live. The only thing we hear again is that they are divorcing in court. Say, hey, baby, don't divorce. Wait till it happen. That's it. Because we don't want to know what comes after that. We don't want to know what happens after that. We don't want to know what is going on. The day you gave your daughter to marriage and everything, you never come back to check how they are doing, because they have said that, you know, nobody should come in between husband and wife. But for me, I said that marriage is not for two persons. Marriage is for a community. Marriage is for society. If I told you were thinking before that marriage doesn't need a third party, forget about it. I think the way marriage is going today, we need a third party. That is why we're talking about counselors. That's why we're talking about experts. And that is why we are here on TV talking to you, because we are the third party. And we are telling you that marriage is more complex today. It's not like before. Marriage is not like before. Grow up with the growing trend. Learn the new things that are happening. You may even learn how to make a woman happy. And I've seen people who are struggling to plait the hair of their wives today. Because if you don't do it, she has seen on Facebook, somebody is plaiting the hair of the wife. You know, you just think that you have to do it. So those are some kind of things that are happening today. So we should think about that.
Now, the basic reason for this sad state of affairs is that marriage was not designed to bear the burdens now being asked of it by the urban society in which we live in. Are we not looking at marriage as designed by God? Taking the case of Adam and Eve. I'm sure it was a rural setting. When you look at, yes, let us be factual, because that is what many of us do not really picture. We are looking at the ideal wedding in the Bible. Take the case of Rachel and was it Jacob? Yes, yes. It was a rural setting where the father sends you go there and then you come back. And then when our parents grew up going back to our traditional setting, marriage had a connotation, and we want to apply the original to the complex world of today. Is that not where we are mixing things? Yes, because lots of things have changed.
It's like Mr. Leo is not attributing marital success to some geographical factors or like, well,
in the past, man of God, in the past, people did not have this television. Television has come, we are flowing with it. In the past, there was no, I don't know, we were not dressing like this. But seemingly we want marriage to be like... That's it.
Well, I think this thing has to do more with mindset.
Okay.
Yes, it has to do more with mindset. And I was just thinking of this aspect of, or the concept of value. Because we're talking about how people no longer value marriage the way they used to value it. I was just thinking about value, and I think value has to be looked at from two perspectives. Value, because that's by virtue of the nature of what we're talking about. Marriage in itself is valuable. Marriage in itself is something that is really glorious. Now, another angle, another dimension of value is the esteem that people give to it. I think if today we decide that money, this 10,000 note, is nothing in this society, will be nothing. That will be what we have accorded. In itself, there is a reserve in the central bank that represents that 10,000. There is something that represents it, but we decide in society that this is nothing, that we are not going to accord no value to it again. And I think this is the dimension to which marriage is moving in our society today. And when you look at this, I think I attribute this first and foremost to the moral decline, the mindset of our people today, the level to which people are getting, engulfed in moral delinquency is very high. And that is why there is a deformity, like what Mr. Leo said something here about God's original intent. The deformity that is coming within this framework of marriage is becoming too much. That's why we can hear today of contract marriages, which was not God's idea. Mm-hmm. We can hear of same-sex marriages. Same-sex marriages that was not God's idea. Same-sex marriage was not God's idea. We can look at some of the things. We can even look at how people are unable to play their role today when it comes to marriage. I think it revolves around the moral decline that we have in today's society. Now, look at marital vows. When people go to the family, you gather a whole family and a whole community that you have a traditional marriage. If people talk, they ask the two families. In fact, they come together because people have accepted. Then leave from there, go to the civil status registration center and do the signing. Come before the church and you hear all forms of, in fact, romantic poet. Your people will be my people. Wherever you go, I'm going to go. All of those things. After they say it ends there at the altar. After they leave from the altar, the listing, say, I will pack and go. I will pack it. So where is this my people will be my people that was spoken at the altar? So all of these things have to do with the fact that people we are no longer as serious with the things that used to be taken seriously in yesterday's society. That is a very serious issue that if we don't revisit our mindsets, it will not be an issue of whether there is modernity. The modernity is not supposed to come to change our mindset. We are supposed to rather adapt to it and use our values as a sieve. We are supposed to use our values as a sieve to the point that if issues about modernity that are not good or are not going to be healthy to our marriage, we dump them. The things that are healthy, we embrace them. That is actually where we are, and this cannot happen if there is no transformation of the mind. If people don't think and say, okay, we'll have to revisit this thing and let things be the way they were supposed to be from the standpoint of he who created marriage, and from how we could go back and see that marriages were successful based on this and this criteria. If we cannot revisit them, and today we leave a lot of loose ends to the fact that the listing we can recommend divorce or separation. The listing we can say people should not take shit. Human rights activists have come out to tell, in fact, you are not supposed to act to embrace anything. If a man does this to you, tell the person off, and all of those things. If we don't revisit these things, we are going to face a worse scenario in this sacred institution called marriage. So this thing for me has to do much and more with the mindset. Our society needs to get back to that re-education. As we are speaking on the panel tonight, I believe that if our listeners can listen, or our viewers can listen to us and give us a listening ear in good faith, we are going to share a few things that are going to be helpful for each and everybody. We have said here time without number that marriages work because people work for them. If you cannot work for your marriage, it is difficult to think that somebody who comes from a separate background from you, somebody who has been brought up under different conditions, will come to you. You come together with such a person and things will just move. We're not talking here about a marriage where somebody will be subjugated. Somebody is going to be like a captured species that is living with you and will just take anything. But we're talking about a case where people will be able to live and enjoy marriage because they understand themselves and can be able to flow and function within the ambits of what God created to be, what healthy marriage is supposed to be.
Okay, are we not also saying this because, I don't know, but it is a difficulty for a man to satisfy the woman or the woman to satisfy. We find it difficult to find true satisfaction from each other, so we have the tendency to seek pleasure from out there and undervalue what the partner represents for us. Because in the past, maybe our parents had the tendency of bearing with whomever they were married to. They knew that this is my wife for life. But today, almost everybody wants to taste every water around.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, you have steered me towards this direction, and it's kind of something a little bit tricky, because truly, when we look around now, that contentment, the Bible even says that godliness with contentment is great gain, not small gain, great gain. You just mentioned something about satisfaction and everything. I was about to also give my point of view about why some of these things have happened. The truth is, you have touched something very critical, something we call satisfaction. In spiritual terms, we'll use carnality, we'll use some excesses or whatever it is, but there is something happening and there's something going on which we must revisit. And I would like to differ a little bit with what Reverend Ken has said, because when I searched the Bible, I discovered that same-sex marriage, in my same-sex interaction and intimacy, has been very very old. In fact, we have not yet come to that level where that was in Sodom and Gomorrah, where they even threatened to visit. That means people wanted to sleep with angels. They said no, we want, but they gave them girls, they refused. Now, if we are looking, are you understanding me? Now, people left Egypt to Canaan, a place that, in fact, we watch some old movies like 300, some old Roman movies, and the way they want to really portray this culture, you will discover that we have not even started reaching some kind of moral decadence that it was in things like Rome. The kind of, I'm talking about in sexual escapades and all of those things.
12 Caesars, 9 were homosexuals.
Just look at those kind of things. I'm talking about those kind of Caesar kind of things. Yeah, that's actually what we're looking at. So if we are just looking at this about moral decadence, I always tell people that there's nothing we are trying to do now that has not been done before. In fact, we are still learning it. In fact, we have not yet even had the heart in this part of the world to accommodate certain things that are happening in the West. We are still getting there. So I think it is not just the decadence, but it's the fact that the economic, the socio-cultural atmosphere has changed in such a way that, okay, for example, there used to be kings who will marry a brother and a sister for the purpose of the bloodline to be pure, to rule. So you will discover that marriage has had different evolutions in different times, based on purpose, based on understanding, based on ideologies. So I think one of the greatest challenges we have in our socio-cultural atmosphere, or the kind of thing that's happening now, it's the kind of power, economic power and freedom that has also come. It has affected a lot of things. That is, and you know, and when you have that appetite, like you talk about that satisfaction, because it's not only sexual, it has to do with financial. It has to do with, you are not contented with what the other person is providing, because the truth is, there is no one man that can provide all your wants.
So you just need to be contented with. Yes. Yeah.
If we don't start building that kind of contentment, and also the very fact that children, marriage has lost its discretion. There was a discretion in marriage that you know, like Apostle B just mentioned, highlighted it. Like for example, now any little thing, somebody should take your social media. I don't tell una say no. When I just let that John, so see the other thing, when I see this face, so now John slap me, you know it, all of us. Some of us were in the house and we have never even heard our parents have some kind of, I'm talking, some of us cannot even really, some people, there are people who have never even seen some kind of fight. It's not because they know how to fight. I'm growing up, God is my witness. It's not to exaggerate. My dad shouts, he might be watching me now, but I have never, seen my mom raise her voice against my dad all the years of my life. Never in my life. True story. So what did these people know? I think that the strength of this relationship and what has gone down is because most of the reasons, they say when the purpose of it is not known, abuse is inevitable. Most of the reasons, those binding factors, those things that used to look so simple have become now more complex. Like when we were growing up, there was the simple this thing and simple proportion, and you know, it has gotten complex. And I think that complexity and our need for, you know, we are never contented, has got to the point that it's so difficult for certain values. For example, we were growing up, a girl that gives birth out of wedlock, sometimes some people in that quarter might not even talk to you.
Yes.
In fact, they will not even greet you on the road.
Yes.
On the road. But now people flaunt being baby mamas. They flaunt it. That means they flaunt it, not like they flaunt it. I remember back then when they heard, if somebody wants to just put a name, they just give rumor that you have aborted. It's not even true. That's rumor. You might never get married.
I know that story.
You might never get married. Yes, but now, so you would discover that I think our cause. Okay, for example, look at now, girls who used to depend on a man for livelihood and other things now can make money, or have discovered that having different people can take care of my needs. So it's no longer an issue. In fact, parents I know girls who have run to me and tell them that their mom has said, if you don't go marry now, can't give me grand picking first, why you do wait? So I think a lot of freedom and looseness has come about certain things that is must affect that institution, which used to have a certain way we go about it. And since it's affecting the certain way we go about it, in fact, do you know that even this concept of unveiling a bride had to do with virginity? Yes. It had to do with virginity. That means you have never seen her. But today, the way they kiss in church, you know very well that these people had been, we are getting, we unite people today and they give birth after 4 months, healthy child, not premature. So you begin to ask yourself, that is, are we how fast do eggs hatch and lay and all of those kind of things. So I think there is a lot of complexity in society that has affected this marriage institution. Look at the kind of kids when we're growing up. Now 18 years old get married, 19 years old get married. They have been exposed to a lot of things. This phone you are using, Apostle Amber was talking about it. My 5-year old knows how to scroll, turn around, all of this. But some of us saw phone. I saw my dad got first phone, what I call Mobilis, when I was in secondary school. So you can imagine there's a lot that has come on. These children are watching a lot of this, even on Disney. Cartoons have the same sex people fall in love. Movies are showing how people are. So there's a lot of things, and we are in I used to say that we are in the adolescent stage. I'm talking especially Africa. You know, in adolescence you are trying everything. You know how confused an adolescent child is. We are in that adolescent stage, as I'm talking about in our socio-cultural economy. And in that stage, whether we like or not, there's a lot that we are going to try. You know, when that begins, yes, I think that this is where we are, and it's affecting us.
Yes, are we not also in a situation where most of those who get into this institution are not ready for it? We have so many young persons who are not prepared. Like we have said, that there is need for the lady to be prepared and the men to be prepared. We went back to our traditional setting where we saw our mothers prepare women for marriage, and then maybe men, by the way they lived and saw things, they naturally were also prepared for this institution. Today we have people graduating into the University of Marriage without any clue on how it functions. All they know is how to organize a sumptuous wedding ceremony.
Yes, Mr. Lou, even the Bible demands that a man shall leave his father and mother and be cleaved to his wife. But unfortunately, many boys, not men. I think there's a separation, a distinction between a man and a boy. There is an age group that classifies somebody as a man, and there's an age group that classifies somebody as a boy. God did not ask boys to get married. He asked men to get married. I will start by giving a testimony of Archbishop Nicholas Duncan William. He said he got married at the age of 24 years as a boy, and he knew nothing about marriage. And that's the reason why his first marriage could not last, because he got married as a boy, not as a man. And because of that, his marriage could not stay. He got married because they told him that because of what he's called to do, he must get married. As a pastor, he was called to get married. Not even mind whether he has the knowledge to keep a woman or to manage a home. The issue is that at this level, he must get married. But if you look at our society today, a lot of people who are getting married do not even know what's marriage. They just get excited to want to stay with a woman of their choice. As long as their heart beats after a woman, they rush after the girl. What they look at, I was watching a comedy And a young boy said he must get married to a girl. And the parents asked him why. He said, Nyash. Mr. Leo, the motives with which we take to enter into marriage cannot keep marriage for long. Somebody gets married to a girl because of Nyash. And the father says, you are not going to get married to a girl. Say, are you not seeing the Nyash? It looks like comedy. But to be sincere, the way women react today will tell us what the men are demanding. When you see women start inflating their breasts, it means the generation of men are in demand of very, very, very large breasts. If you see girls inflating their buttocks, it means the generation of these men, this generation of men need heavy buttocks women. So the purpose of getting married is not even the reason why our parents got married in the past, the reason why marriage should be in the first place. So out of the reason of getting married, most of them step into it. When they realize that what they went to look for in the marriage can no longer satisfy them, the institution becomes worthless to them. It is easier for them to walk out. When you see that mountain buttocks and you pursue it, once you go there, you climb on it after 6-7 months, and the thing loses its value, you will step down. If you see that inflated breast and you sleep and cover your ears with it during rainy season, when dry season comes, the breast will become heat. You realize that the purpose of which you got married is no longer satisfying you. So out of that thing that dragged you into marriage, you definitely realize that the things are no longer necessary. You devalue the entire institution, and it will be of no value to you, so you will drop out. That's the reason why there's an increased rate of divorce, because what men went to look for in marriage, they are not finding. The things they thought could sustain them in marriage is no longer there. Big breasts does not sustain marriage. Heavy buttocks does not sustain marriage. And this is the reason why most people sometimes get married. One of the other things also is that women have become too financially independent to listen to a man.
Yes.
That's one area we do have to deal with.
Yes.
In those days, women got married because somebody could take care of them.
Yes.
Our parents were seeing marriage as a means of survival. A girl will quickly run into a man's hand because she wants to leave the father's house. She wants to be independent. But this time around, you don't need to get married to be independent. Women are independent without being married. So if what they are looking for in a man's hand, they can make it, what's the essence? That was when statement like started coming out, what a man can do, a woman can do better. We did not get these messages in our days. But this time around, women have been empowered. And now if a woman is empowered to some extent financially, she might not need a man. She may need a young boy that satisfies her sexual urges while she controls her money because she does not want to sit under anybody. So she's empowered to the extent that she does not want anybody to control her. So you hear that say sugar mommy. Sugar mommy is somebody who is well established. So she uses a young guy to give birth to her children. She gives birth to 1, 2, 3 children. Those children become her companion that can keep her comfortably, and she does not want anybody that will stand to control her. Rather, she has children that she can control. She has the money, she has the house, she has the car, she has the health care, she has the holidays, and she wants to go in for sexual satisfaction. She has guys she can pay around and get her well sexed. So what is the essence of sitting under a man that will tell you that go out by 6 o'clock, come out by 2 o'clock, don't go out by 4 o'clock, come out? So that control is no longer there because people have become financially empowered. Number 2, customs and cultures have been adulterated.
Come loose.
Yes, our customs and cultures have been adulterated. If, for instance, in those days, if you are a woman, you were found defiled or disvirgin or deflowered, I beg your pardon, deflowered before marriage, the society will look at you as some rag, some disdainful material. But this time around, our culture does no longer bother. They don't even verify the girl is a virgin before you are getting married. As a matter of fact, they don't even want virgins anymore because virgins don't know how to do the thing. They want a girl who is more experienced. So that cultural value that was there, that a girl will be checked. In the morning when they get with a man, they will need a white cloth to take if at all blood spread on the white of the cloth. They give it. It's no longer there. Our cultures are infiltrated by all kinds of things. This time around, we no longer respect the cultural values in particular communities. For instance, a girl will say, I cannot go and be as a second wife. But in those days, our sisters were running as a second wife, third wife, fourth wife, fifth wife. But this time around, marriage was so because somebody could keep 5 women. But this time around, they would tell her, no, according to women emancipation, I cannot share a man. That cultural background which was established, that makes marriage palatable, attractive, and interesting, that most girls saw the need to build a community through marriage, is no longer there. Number one, a woman does not want to be controlled. Number two, she does not want to share a man with another man. I mean, no matter how legal it is, she doesn't want it. So, what's the essence? What is the essence? When a woman is making 2-3 million francs a month, she has good house, comfortable car, she's driving. What she will do, if she's sexually desirous, she get a young girl, get her well satisfied. If she wants a child, she looks for a handsome man who impregnates her, she gives birth to her children, and then begin to invest in the children. Because they doesn't want somebody to say, hey, chue madam, so the yard is set there, what are you doing outside, madam? They don't want that control. That's why you see this idea of feminism coming up, women emancipation that has been misconstrued coming up, the idea of women empowerment coming up. Because of that, the value to rush into a man's hand in marriage as a source of security, provision, protection, and attention is no longer there. Women don't need attention from you. They can get attention through any other person.
Okay. Ndims, the jurist, says, good program watching live from heaven. You guys are funny on earth. A woman should not be independent. Very impressive watching from Bafusam. Mugu Sonia says, that was Lumleslen. Mugu Sonia says, greetings to you all in the studio. God bless you all. Tame Melvis, good evening to you. Miss Parkbo says she's watching from Yaoundé, quite educative. For Zelio Chantou says, perfectly said, Paul Salambe, you're a man with a difference. Now, let's take Mr. Sanji Yvette also tell us what she thinks it accounts for the rapid decline in the value that is placed on the institution called marriage.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to our televiewers. Good evening to my co-panelists. Mr. Leo, let me start by thanking our televiewers, those that don't joke. They don't joke with Prime Hour. Those that follow up our programs and even implement some of the things we say. I met somebody on Sunday in a single seminar. He's married. He was so full of joy. Hey, Mrs. Asanji, I'm happy to see you. You don't know how you saved my marriage through my Media Prime TV. I said, okay, we thank God for my Media Prime TV that is reaching out to everybody out there. So I want to appreciate everybody that watches this program and takes time to maybe implement some of the things we say here. Okay, Mr. Leo, how will marriages not decline? How will marriages not decline when people have wandered away from the purpose God created marriage to be? I mean, today people now marry for documents. People marry for connections. Ladies marry for money. How can we go into marriage with all of this put together and we don't expect marriages to decline? Was this what God stated from the onset of marriage, that marriages should be done this way? You marry now because of connection or what you're going to benefit. You marry now based on maybe you want to go to America and you need someone to sustain you for a while. People have wandered away from God's original purpose of marriage. Let me not even talk about women wanting to take the place of men. Yes, women wanting to take the place of men in the marriage, and men, forcing women to understand or to accept that they have to cheat. I mean, a lot has gone wrong. A lot has gone wrong. Marriage now looks more of a battlefield than what God created marriage to be. Now, I'm happy we're talking about this, Mr. Leo, because we really need to talk about this. It is really a call for concern. Thank God it is also our season of talking about marriages in the church. And we began looking at it like, why did God create marriage in the garden? Why did God not create marriage on the mountain, in the wilderness, in the desert, or at the war front? Yes, let me say war front, so that when marriage was created, people came out and saw people fighting, and so they knew that that's how we're supposed to be fighting in marriage. God created marriage in a garden. beautiful garden. What does it signify? It signifies that marriages were supposed to be what? Calm. How is a garden like? Marriages were supposed to be quiet, peaceful, serene, beautiful. You can imagine how a garden looks like. Fresh and fertile. Tell me if people go and fight war in the garden. When you hear of two lovebirds, they are in the garden. So God's initial idea about marriage was to create something that human beings will enjoy. Unfortunately, we have turned marriage into what we want marriage to be. We force our spouses to do things the way we want them to do them. It is no longer the kind of marriage God wanted. In fact, marriages are no longer in the garden. Most marriages now, they're either in the fire, or I don't even want to say hellfire. But most marriages now, they are not even anywhere near what looks like a garden. It is more of a battle. It is more of a battle. Like people are fighting, women are fighting to take the man's place, or man is fighting for the woman. I don't know how we got here. Because we really need to check ourselves and go back to what marriage should be if we want to enjoy marriage. Marriage from the initial stage or the initial idea of it was for man and a woman to live together happily, peacefully, enjoy each other's company. It was not good for man to be alone. But today, couples are living together and they are so far away from each other. No, there's no companionship anymore. People are looking for companionship in their boyfriends or in their girlfriends. How can we not have marriages declining with all of this put together? I think this program has come to call people's conscience. Don't marry and begin to live like you are not married. Don't marry and begin to force your spouse to live the way you want to live. It is a matter of partnership. You two coming together to work as one. If we don't change our mindsets about what marriage is, and the worst of all is how human beings have turned marriage to be. If we don't change our mindset and go back, let's revisit the initial idea God had for marriage. If we don't go back to it, we are lost. And the future generation, I'm even afraid. I'm scared because the worst is yet to come. So it is either we begin to fix certain things now, or we should better prepare ourselves for the worst in the nearest future.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sanji. Yvette, now let us look at the original concepts of marriage. God made marriage and gave principles. Who is contending with this institution, going by what we observe today? It's like a school. The schools are constructed and then there are guidelines, rules and regulations. Who is trying to distort the originality of God's plan for marriage?
Mr. Leo, pastors and
how can you say pastors?
Yes, teachers are really causing a lot of problem, because even the interpretation of scriptures is a problem. Yes, see. Yes, because you don't keep teaching people some things that are not relevant for their time. Yes. Now, when you begin to teach us and you carry us to the garden, like I hear a lot of people taking us back to garden, what are you expecting us to do? Garden? No. Pastors have spoiled this thing. How can somebody be prophesying to somebody when it comes to marriage? Telling people they should marry, this one is the one you have to marry. A prophet is a counselor, marriage counselor, when he himself is not married. He doesn't know anything about marriage. Not everybody is qualified to interpret biblical doctrines, especially when it comes to institutions. Institutions are very technical, especially that of marriage. It's not every pastor who is qualified. Or maybe you're a prophet. Prophet, God does not reveal everything to you. Because I know a lot of prophets say that God showed everything. If you want me, I will tell you everything, to the color of this and this and that. No. We know in part and we prophesy in part. There are a lot of things we don't know. There are a lot of people that need to go through pastoral counseling. and I need to go to professional counselors in order for them to have a successful marriage and a blissful one. But unfortunately, our pastors have made people to know that they're the ones that can counsel marriages by every other person. That is it. You know, you sit in the office and you are doing counseling and you counsel everybody. It's not correct. Not the pastor will not counsel everybody. There are some cases the pastor cannot handle. How many marriages are broken because the pastors did not counsel them well? We have known people who said that daddy said, and why would we be hearing from ministers of God that their husbands? Is that how it's studying? I was studying this thing. The original intention was to do what? A man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave. So everything you want to tell a couple is how they should cleave, how they should bond, how they should live together. You can't be separating people. You can't tell people that God revealed to you that this person is not your husband or this person is not your wife after you know they are already married. Don't we have such cases everywhere today? We have these things. It is hurting the people, because a lot of people believe in prophets. They believe in teachers. They believe in the pastors. They believe in them. And whatever they tell them, that's what they do. Okay, you want us to go back to the Bible. Who is going to interpret the Bible for us? Pastors. Who is going to interpret the Bible for us? Is preachers. Unfortunately, many of them are very ignorant about marital principles. Very ignorant, because many homes are bleeding, even that of pastors. They are bleeding. To tell you that there is a mixture, even at the level of the church, there is a problem with interpretation of what God is intending for this institution. When a man says that a woman should submit, and they tell you that no, you have to submit, there's a message. There are messages going on the internet where they preach that a man needs respect more than everything. A man needs food. A man needs this. But if you want to check about scriptures, you understand that this thing is going to be mutual. It's not going to be something that one person is going to be domineering and dominating all the time. One person should be able to rise up and build structure. Marriage is a structure that must be built by two parties. But if the interpretation of the original intention of what God intended for marriage is thwarted, truly, marriage would have key leg. Yes, you want us to talk about the original intention, what God is saying. Now, who is going to tell us about original intention? Is it not ministers of God who have read the Bible, so have gone to theological seminaries, they have gone to some places, even though some have decided not to go them to any place now. They are running away. They don't want to attend any Bible school. They say God will teach them. The Holy Spirit is their teacher. And then you take people's homes and we play with it. You want to do counseling for the whole day you are in church. Counseling marriage, counseling professionalism, counseling everything, where you yourself, one, you are not a professional. Two, you are not a marriage counselor. Three, you know nothing about these institutions, which I think that they are more experts in the church that pastors can make use of them. They are experts that pastors can make use of them. Look for people in the church that have a little bit of experience, that can handle things more than you. But pastors will not want to accept that some people can handle things in their churches more than them. Don't we have marriage counselors in the church? I see Mrs. Sanji is also a counselor and also a member of the church. But do you think they give her that opportunity to do counseling in the church in marriage? No, the pastor will not want to live his thing like that. The people will not respect him. They will not think that he's a man of God. So, but while that woman is there wasting, she is there just wanting to get her spiritual food, and after that she goes back to her office. Why should have played the role of a counselor in the church? But the Bible goes to do all counseling. All things in one. Okay. You think that men of God have played a very big role? We actually run a quiz or a competition at times. So many persons were not certified. They said that we relegated them outside, and that we want people to mention them as the best university. So this time we are not competing among 15 schools. We want you just to tell us which is the best university in Cameroon, especially in the private sector. Last we did it was for 15 private universities. So we want you just to tell us which university, private university is best in Cameroon. Just can we have that tell us your best private university in Cameroon. At the end of this month, we are going to tell which university is chosen as the best private university by those who are watching Prime. Now,
before you make use of something, you are supposed to understand what that thing is. Do you have the impression that we know what the marriage institution is all about today?
I will differ a little with Apostle Esinge.
Okay.
Not, I say a little because he is not completely wrong in the sense that there are some people who arrogate to themselves what they are not supposed to able to do, but to place a greater burden of the challenges that marriages are facing today on pastors will, in my opinion, not be very fair. There are many people also that pastors who understand the subject of marriage and marital counseling have told them stand here, and they decide to move to the other side. So at the end of the day, you won't blame the man of God or the pastor who guided the person, and the person decided to be the stubborn one. I think I go back to what I said in my previous submission, that there is a general issue which has to do with the society at the level of our mindsets. We have many people who, when you talk about marital counseling, because as you said, Mr. Leo, many people enter into it without having an understanding of what they are going into. They don't know what processes they ought to take. They don't know what responsibilities are involved in telling somebody, yes, I'm going to marry you. They don't know what responsibilities are involved in standing before the family, before the state, and before the church to say this is a decision we've taken to spend our lives together throughout until death parts us. They don't know what the intricacies are all about. But now, when you want to get them through it, either they will term it a complication, or they will look at it and give you, a profile to you that, okay, I know this person who did not go through premarital counseling and whose marriage is successful, and all of these things we're talking about. Forgetting that every relationship has its peculiarities. Every relationship has its own kind of issues that surround it, that there's need for some kind of decoding, there's need for some kind of analysis to be able to give a counseling. And then forgetting also that rushing into relationships is a very serious danger, because many things people are hypocritical about can only be revealed over time and by circumstances. When you get to promise marriage to one another, and then two of you are rushing to say, no, we want to get married. You see, people will contract a relationship in June, we're in June, and they're like, okay, by December we want to marry, by December we want to marry. You don't know that between now and that December, there is still, in fact, you don't have as much time for many things to be revealed, for certain things to be primed, to the point that the person's real attitude and character is revealed, and to the point that some of the things that the person was hiding can be revealed by time. So many a time, the rush into relationships is a very serious factor accounting for this decline in the marital bliss that we are supposed to have in our society today. People who maybe are coming from relationships where they were hurt in those relationships, they have not yet been healed, they jump into another relationship, and to them entering another relationship is going to be a healing or a kind of panacea to the fact that they are from a hurtful relationship. So when they jump into another one, they will not be able to put in their best in this new relationship, and the next thing will be that they will get married and the relationship is shaky from its foundation. And then we go back now to say what the Bible says, if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? A house without a solid foundation, whether you raise it to whatever level and embellish it to whatever dimension, that house can never withstand the storms and the tempests that are going to hit against any house. Marriages are going to face moments of challenges. Marriages are going to face moments where there's going to be this difficulty. So for people to actually be involved and get and attach the value they ought to attach to their relationships, they should not jump into relationships as if there was fire. I used to say this: if you have not died the last 28 years that you were on this planet Earth, you have not died because you are not married. It is not waiting for 2 years that is going to kill you. You will not die in 2 years waiting to try to see how you can put things together. So just because we have had all of these conspiracy theories and they have made marriage to look like something that, okay, just try. If it doesn't work, in fact, you can come back. Your family does not reject you. You can come back. So when we make it look that light, why will people not enter as if they were experimenting? They will enter as if they are going to experiment the relationship, and they have the mindset that, okay, if it doesn't work, I'll go back to our family house. In fact, my room is still there intact. You see, a lady will be going into a relationship with that kind of mindset. A guy too will be there like, okay, I already know this other lady. If this one does not work, I can have my plan B and I fall back to this person. You see, some people in relationships, somebody will be dating about 4 different persons. We used to talk about double dating is just 2, but when you see somebody into 4 relationships, looking at which one can satisfy their selfish interests, that's the danger of what we are facing in today's society. We don't give the relationships that we are supposed to have in our society today the requisite esteem that relationships are supposed to have in order for them to be long-standing and sustainable. People today who have entered into relationships in a rush, the trend shows that many of them rushed out of those relationships. When you go in it gradually, if it doesn't work, you can easily back out if it is still at the level of a relationship that is not yet concretized as marriage. But when it is already concluded at the level of the family, the state, and the church, it becomes more ramified. You cannot just back out the way you are.
Yes, but what are those rules that were given for marriage by God?
The rules?
Yes, as an institution, how do we understand? What is that institution? Because we are talking about coming together. But what are the rules that were given for the institution to function?
For them to come together, it is supposed to be a level of maturity. That is the first thing. When the two people when you are ripe for marriage, and then the next thing now will be that you follow due process. Following due process, that you honor the various authorities. We have had cases that people rush to the council and sign the thing and they're off. You follow the authorities that you are supposed to honor in that relationship. Big family.
How mature?
This
How
question of
Rachel
acts is very sensitive.
Yes. How
That
mature
rules
was
that
Rachel?
God.
How mature and prepared was Rachel and everybody? Do you not just get in? It's like you are entering a train or a plane. There is a standard protocol that once you get into it, you start following.
Mr. Leo, when you talk about maturity, as far as marriage is concerned, I'm always very reluctant attaching it to age. It is true that there is an age factor, but there are people at 40 who are still babies. So there is a mental and emotional maturity. Yes, the mental and emotional maturity.
But even if you are mature or you're age-wise, but do you know that this institution I'm getting into has these codes, guidelines, well spelled out by God, which I need to humble myself under? Because without this, if you were to get into a plane without understanding how it operates, getting into a train without understanding, or a car or whatever that was designed to function, you crash.
Now, this has to do with the rules and not the rules of the game. The rules now which are enshrined in the book of Ephesians chapter 5.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking.
Yes, which has to do with a man entering into marriage with the mindset that he is supposed to love the woman, and the woman entering the marriage with the mindset he's supposed to submit to the woman, so that two of them can build on those two roles and grow. What is there is that man is supposed to have a vision. A man is supposed to be purposeful in life. You're supposed to be living a life of purpose. When you are purposeful in life now, you have a woman that comes to be a helper, which when God was giving Adam's own wife, he gave a helper that is suitable, a suitable helper for the two of them to be able to fulfill the mandate. Now, when people now begin to look at marriage from the standpoint of, I have gotten old, I am now 34 and I must get married, without any agenda for his life. Some of those things at times you see, you go and get married to a woman who is ambitious, who is purpose conscious. When they come into it, the next week that the woman is going to be, she should be feeling bored in the relationship. She will not be feeling fulfilled in the relationship because you are not leading her anywhere. And a woman who is not being led anywhere, the long-term result is that there will be resistance over time. There will be resistance in the woman.
There's going to be resistance in the woman. Apostle Lefo, Divine, we're talking about marriage between a man and a woman and the increasing decline in its value by either the man or the woman. Is it not also because those who are looked upon as role models themselves are increasingly not showing that this is an important, very capital institution by the way they handle it? He still talked about men of God, that by the way they counsel people. But we see men of God who are also increasingly divorcing.
Yes.
What message are they giving out there that this institution that we hold so dear, so sacred, is something that, we can change whosoever we want at any time because we are comfortable?
I think the thing also is that the same reason I gave here about the social cultural climate has affected plus the men of God themselves, because I did some small background history. I've shared that here, and I said when I was growing up, I saw a lot of people who entered into marriage and they complained that their wives were spirits sent to destroy their ministries. In fact, when I grew up, I knew that most pastors' wife, I'm talking in the kind of scenario I grew up, most pastors' wife. So I personally, I did a lot of research, and most of the people I discovered that felt like their wives were fighting their ministries got married before receiving their call. So the wives did not marry pastors. They married some people who showed them something else, and along the line came and said, God don't call me. And then you had your encounter, and automatically you want the person to change overnight, which it was not a conference call. It was a personal call. And when this woman is struggling to figure herself, we now start calling it whatever it is. This is just a simple example of when you also marry without having defined your life. For example, I think, for example, Apostle Alfred would not have been making the choice, or might not have got married to who he's got married to, if he had not already understood that this is my life, this is where I'm going to. Will you go there with me? So I think that one of the challenges we are having is they both parties, they two people, sometimes there is what I call misguided expectations from both parties, and it gets a little bit tricky. Like you're talking about the role models. We have seen a lot of role models. True. What has changed? Because even politicians, even at the level of even that moral decadent world that we are talking about, the America and everything, you will discover that a president can lose votes because they quarreled. He quarreled with his wife. In fact, most of the time they come and threaten them, but with family issues.
Family issues, that's true.
So you would, yeah, that's to tell you a lot. Yes, they will. Most of your rival always goes and dig about family. So you would discover that even some presidential candidates, to maintain their position, even when they have with the house, they will beg the woman, I will let you make go, but ma just feed him a term. Yes, there are many people that you are looking at this, they are finished. I think I shared a story here that a man of God opened up to me. I was shocked. It was somebody I also looked up to, an elderly person. The person called me and said, no, I have followed you, I've seen what you're doing, you're this. I'm older than you. In fact, the person has been married for more than close to 18 years or 19, if I'm not mistaken. And he was telling me openly that it's about 13 years now he has not eaten his wife's food. 13 years. And they go to church. This is a true story. Yes. So one or two people might have had issues, because even this same marriage thing, many people were staying there because they could lose. Like Apostle Alfred gave an example. I've seen where a woman tells the man, went to the board of pastors, yes, and said that the husband slapped her, but it was a lie. It was a lie. But she knows that alone will make a big sanction, yes, on the man, and it is happening every day. Yes, because the leaders just take it. They don't even want to hear from the man. Yes, exactly. So that was one. Because of that, many women or pastoral women, when they entered the house, they did not put work again. They have arrived. You misbehave, your ministry don't end. So they know that, as I've settled here, if you play, ministry has ended. But now that freedom that the women claim, men also have taken it and have said, I can send you packing. Yes, and we have seen some of these pastors, but I don't want us to think it's only a pastoral role model. Role models are not just pastoral. We are talking about our parents. I think the greatest role model we should look at are even our parents, the people that are really above us, and how they maintain this, because pastors themselves are humans. In fact, priests don't marry. Jesus Christ, the greatest role model of all, did not marry. So sometimes we have to be very careful, because Paul, twice in scriptures, Paul said it is good for a man not to marry. Twice. Apostle Paul writes it down. Twice. but all of us will rightly divide the word of truth and say that, of course, that was his personal yes, his personal experience. So he said twice that because as long as you are married, you will have to care about the things of God and the things of this world. So I think role models, it has to do with how we ourselves have taken, because when we start fighting and we are not showing the seriousness, that's why also I want to also agree with a little thing that Reverend Ken said. He said something. Most people are not told the literal truth of what they are entering into. So they enter with misguided expectations. That's what I usually call it, misguided expectations. When we come and then we play, we have to let them know that you can play anything you are playing before you enter. But when you enter, you should know that you are entering into something, how crucial it is. And this is my greatest message as a young person, by God's grace. That's why you see a lot of times talking about profiling the man you are dating and all of those things. If you discover my center message in handling a lot of people before they get into marriage is to show you the seriousness of the matter, both in your spiritual life, in your emotional life, in your, I was talking already, and a 21-year-old girl is telling me in church that she has drank drugs twice. She has tried to overdose.
To kill herself?
Yes, twice, because of relationship. This is happening every day. We saw again 19-year, apart from the one that was popular, another 21-year-old girl again killed herself in Boya. So these things are real. We see them fight. From two girls, I went to do Project Rebirth in GTHS, and the principal called me and begged me that I should please focus on Form 2 and 3. That's what happened. He says that they are stealing teachers' wallet in class. Teachers are passing. Form 2 students are kissing. The teacher wants to talk. He says, "Come out, move your eye." Form 2 happening live in GTHS, Moliko. They are kissing. A teacher is telling a child in class during the day. So ask yourself, the principal of another school, I don't want to call the name because I don't want it to look, because sometimes we are very careful on air, so someone does not feel like it's an attack on the school, but it's just the students. A principal of another school within Project Rebirth called for me and said, "Sir, we have caught our students doing group sex." They went to a nightclub, they went to a hotel and caught students of their school in Form 3, Form 2, Form 3 doing group sex with whiskey and all of this. This is true. I carry all of it. So yes, so we have to see to it that we don't only blame, because sometimes even some of these role models don't tell us the truth. That's why I want us to be a little bit careful, because even some of the people that we think their relationships are very good, they have come to that place where they see the responsibility, just like how as a father you must not show everything to your child, just because like almost it's only the negativities that have been amplified nowadays. I want us to look at it to see that yes, not pastors are not the only role models. I think everybody in the society who is into the marriage institution is supposed to be a role model to those who are coming. Okay, some of these votes that are coming in, some people are voting for ISG University. This one says the best university is Harvard Higher Institute of Science and Technology, Bamenda Upstation. This one says IUG is the best. Another one says National Polytechnic University is the best. Osman University is the best. This one says Kali University, Institute of the Diocese of Boya is the best university. This one says St. Louis in Yaoundé is the best university. Another one says ICT University Yaoundé is the best. Apostle Lambi Valentine Gua, someone writing from Limbe says that people are not respecting the marriage institution because marriages are signed in court and in church, that if they were to be signed in front of shrines, people will respect and fear it.
Let me begin by saying that before marriages started being signed in court and in churches, people lived in those days on covenant.
Okay.
People even went to the extent of taking blood oath, and those oaths were broken. Brother Shrine, whoever who wrote, or Sister Shrine, people have taken blade, cut their fingers, suck the blood, and swear to live with each other for eternity. The boy traveled to Douala for school, they get him and then got married to somebody else. We have been delivering people in church from blood covenant that did not hold. So to come and tell us, to come and tell us that if they sign a marriage in front of a shrine, it will last. Even the people who are controlling the shrine used to take bribe to pass judgment on people who don't deserve judgment. They say, he that comes to the table of equity should come with clean hands. The herbalists themselves, their hands are not clean. So that is not an excuse. I think somebody's conscience is the strongest judge. You should be able to know the consequences and the casualties you're going to cause the society, your family, and yourself before you decide to take a decision in a marriage. The truth is, our consciences are dead. We live in a generation where the conscience of humans do not longer have that fear. I'm still wondering what used to happen in the past, that people, despite the torture, the trauma, the difficulties they went through, they stayed through in marriage.
Maybe they lived the garden like. Miss Assange says we should go back. We should go back to the garden.
Mr. Leo, even inside that garden, even inside that garden,
it was in the garden
when Adam and
Eve got the listener.
Yes, it was in the garden where there was abundance. I mean, the kind of comfort they had with the level of serenity, calmness, and the glory of God, and all the riches and the gold and the silver.
The still did not respect.
Eve was still greedy. She left all the fruits and the gold and the silver to go and eat the particular one. That is to let you know the greedy nature of humans. And to also add flesh to what I'm saying, the reason why Adam stayed with Eve after they left the garden, because that was his only companion. He didn't find anyone else. If there was another woman, Adam would have been the first divorcee. Because when he turned around, there was nobody else. And both of them were the only parties in question. So he was left with no choice than to stay with the woman, because that was the only companion he had. Not this day where your wife is offending you, have over 6 girls who are already chatting you.
Online.
As a matter of fact, there are ladies who are standing at the door.
No, they told you.
Jesus says, stand at the door and knock. If you open, I will come in. There are ladies standing at the door and knocking in the house of married men. That if your wife shift a bit, see, the marriage could last because first and foremost, women were scarce. Women were not many. Adam had just Eve alone. So there was no other woman to threaten the existence. That kind of attitude that Eve put up in that Garden of Eden, that made Adam lost everything. If it was in this age, side chick would have come in. Adam would have seen the goodness of the Lord in the side chick and the wickedness of the devil in Eve, and then look for somewhere else to go. This is because one of the reasons that I'm telling you that marriages no longer have value is because there are varieties. Men have varieties over what they don't like.
Yes.
So you will tell me that in those days there was a possibility for a man to stay with a woman. Yes, there was a possibility for a man to stay with a woman because there were no varieties. Today, a man who is fully married is married to Leah, but what he's looking for is Rachel. Rachel is outside, Leah is in the house. Leah is that good wife that knows how to do things very well, but Rachel is that attractive one that satisfies the man's soul. So there is somebody knocking at the door. A man, we were in those days when you were told that somebody is married, guests were afraid. Say, one of the things I don't want to hear is marry man. Once you put on ring, a guest says, sir, you are married, by luck. To even go out with a married man is a curse. Now, let me see if I speak about this one. They will remove that ring from your hand and put their own when you are with them. When you are going home, they remove when you are going home, they remove your own and they put your wife's own. As a matter of fact, they will tell you that you are spending too much time with your wife. You have to be dividing the hours. But you know, Reverend Ken, in those days, it was an insult for a young girl to go out with a married man.
Sure.
The kind of value we had in the society in those days, girls were afraid. Once you go, that thing we are doing today, say back if he's taking, he's not taking, he's rented. Men are never taken in the generation. In those days, when they say a man was taken, the man was taken. A girl will just look at you and see you being married and say, no, you just comport yourself. But today, Mr. Liu, when you hear that a man is married, a girl will tell you that, I know you are married. You have to be creating time also for me. You must create 3 hours for me per day. I'm going to give your wife 6 hours. It is true, she's married to you. Some will even tell you to divorce your wife and marry them. So since there are varieties everywhere, that grip between husband and wife is no longer there as it used to be. There are men who have wives who do their documents for them. There are others who have wives who satisfy them sexually. I mean, they have a married woman in the house. There's another one who have a woman that helps them financially. So you realize that that thing that bonded a man and a woman is no longer there, because why? The man finds the different things that he is in need of in different women. And that's the reason why the marriage institution has been greatly abused, because this time around, a man cannot get married to a woman and see everything he's in need of inside that one woman. He will want to keep this one because he's drawing some finances from this angle. And he wants to keep them because he's drawing some inspiration from this angle. And this one is probably satisfying him sexually. There are people who know they can never marry this woman, but in their mind, they have to stay with her because she's meeting a need. Meeting a need. Okay. That's a demand in their life. Okay. So I'm still landing.
You have landed for long.
Have I landed? Okay.
Go on,
okay, I've landed. Let me land. So that's what I'm saying, that those things that used to cause people to be afraid in those days. Like today, if you hear that somebody's wife, your father will tell you if you sleep with somebody's wife is a curse. Today, a man knows you are married, and he is telling you that your husband is not giving you that thing the way he can give you. If you come here, I will give you in a way you will not understand. So that fear for a married man and the fear for a married woman has gone. And that was what helped to keep marriages in those days. But now, it's difficult, because when a woman is being satisfied from outside, when she's married.
Yeah, but here, who do you blame? It is the men who are giving themselves out, and the women who are also giving themselves out.
But that's why there is a decline in the value of marriage.
Yes.
I'm answering the question. That's why there is a decline.
Because
things that kept marriage in those days are no longer valued.
Men have refused to discipline themselves.
Women
themselves have refused to.
That's what I'm talking about. So it's a very strong point I'm trying to pass across right now. Because my father told me that if you sleep with a married woman, you are cursed. That was a mindset they had in those days. Nobody will preach that thing today. Somebody will tell you if you sleep with a married woman, you are a cursed individual. Who will tell you?
Preach it now.
You got tied up, entangled with them till you cannot come out. This time around, people, that thing they told and they have gone and tested is not true. If you sleep with a married woman, you are entangled. You will not be able to come out. They will come and see the two of you. People have gone and tested if the thing is not working, so they are going to remain there.
Preach it now, people hear. Preach it now, people hear.
I'm preaching it.
Okay. Let's take another listen to Mr. Sanji Yvette tell us her feelings or her thoughts on this very, very important topic.
Battles. Are we saying marriages should not have conflicts? Marriages will obviously have conflicts, because two people coming together from two different backgrounds, two different gender, two different moral brought up, two different education, we can name it. These people cannot come together and don't have differences. It is normal for us to have differences, but it is a problem when those differences characterizes, every moment of the marriage. That means every now and then we are quarreling. Every now and then we are arguing. Every now and then we are in disagreement. Every now, that means there is no moment of joy. That was not what God wanted marriages to be. It is either we come back, couples should come back and sit and begin to ask themselves, why did we even get married in the first place? Because the reasons why you got married might begin to help you calm down. Why did you even get married in the first place? If you are aware of why you got married, you will now maybe be more conscious. Because like I said, sometimes I'm looking at it like people just get married because they want to have that identity of, I am married, I am Mr. This, I am Mrs. This. But there is nothing else that links to that title. So it's either we come back to fix our marriages to be what we want. Mr. Leo, I always say this, there is no two the same couple on earth, right? So every marriage has its own. You build your marriage the way you want to see it. If you're putting in fire, it's going to be hot for you. If you're putting in love, you're going to have a lot of love. Just imagine the kind of idea about the garden. Just think of the garden. You can see how peaceful God wanted marriages to be. But today we have wandered far away. And when we talk about marriage, please let me say this. God created marriage. God initiated marriage. God instituted marriage. One of the reasons why marriages are declining today is because people want to get married, live successfully in marriage, while they have shifted God far away aside. They don't want to hear God, but they want to marry. But they don't want to know where is marriage coming from. They don't even know. Marriage was God's idea. He said it was not good that the man should be alone. So, okay, let me give you an example, Mr. Leo. Let's say someone who uses an Android phone. If you buy an iPhone for your first time, you cannot use it without having the manual, because an Apple phone, functions completely differently from they deliver the same purposes, but the way it goes, it functions, is different. Tell me how you can use, let's say you're giving an iPhone for the first time. Tell me how you can use an iPhone without checking how it functions. When God created marriage, He also has the manual to marriage. People want to operate marriages based on what they think marriage is. And then they want to shift every other thing aside. They want to shift even the God that created it aside. If somebody should bring in, let's say, a new modern TV set which is functioning different, you need the manual of that TV set to operate that TV set. The same way we need God to operate and function in marriages. It is the earlier the better we go back to God, or we know that we are not creating our own marriages, because human beings have created their own marriages where there is more of power struggle between men and women. Marriages where men emphasize on submission but don't even give in the love as is commanded in the Bible. Marriage where the woman is equally refusing to submit. There is a lot of battles going on in marriage. That is why marriages are declining. If we have to enjoy marriage or get back marriage to the way it is supposed to be, couples must sit down, have an honest communication. Why did I marry you? What is it that I want from this marriage? Because if we're not honest about what we want from the marriage, we might begin to live anyhow. Then whatever results comes out, we begin to blame each other, because that's one of the greatest things in marriage, blame game. Husband is always blaming the wife is always blaming the husband. Nobody accepts that they are wrong. Nobody owns up. The day that you humble yourself, the day that you begin looking at how you've contributed to your marriage negatively, that is the day that you begin having understanding of what marriage is truly, or marriage should be. Calm down yourself. Ask yourself, What is it that I have been contributing to this marriage negatively? If you can honestly point out areas where you have failed, you as an individual, stop looking at your spouse. If you can point out the areas by yourself, I tell you the truth, you will be able to fix a lot of things in your marriage. It is not about always blaming the other person. Stop the blame game. Stop the power struggle. Start putting in what you want to see in your marriage, and I think your marriage will not decline. Thank you so much, Mr. Liu.
Thank you to Mr. Sanji Yvette. I vote for Harvard Higher Institute of Science and Technology, Upstation Mile 1. I'm called Emmanuel. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Wibin Yannick from Yaoundé City. Please, there is something baffling me currently. I wish to ask those men of God on the platform. One of them spoke about Adam having only one woman that existed on earth, which was Eve. Now my question is, which woman did Cain marry after killing his only brother Abel? Where was the woman? Okay, that is a topic for another day. This one says, I vote for St. Louis University, Catholic University, Institute of the Diocese of Boya. This other one says, Université des Montagnes is the best university. Another says, HIMS is the best. This one says, FONAP, Higher Institute of Professional Studies. Okay, this one says, Siantu University. Keep the votes coming. We're going to announce the winner. Now, how do we adapt our marriages with the existing pressures? Because we are living also in a time where women are getting the more career ladies. They don't have time to be with the kids, grow the kids, take care of the dress of the husband, all of that. Things have changed. How do we adapt to make sure that we still enjoy marriage even with the complexity that our communities or society comes with now?
I like the word you use, adapt. Adaptation simply means something has to be joined to it. Just bring it. It was not like that. Put it like that. God from the beginning also started adapting this thing. That's why they asked Jesus that, why did Moses ask people to divorce and give them a written document? Then Jesus said, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, adapted to what your mind wanted. Everybody must learn to adapt. Stop bringing the old archaic thing. As I'm seeing people are hitting every day. Man, you must respect man, respect man, respect man. You see this respect? Not be women that will give it. Other people that will give you the respect, but not be woman. When a woman starts seeing your nakedness, that is all. It's just like a pastor who gets married to a Christian and is expecting that the Christian should be treating him as daddy in the Lord, daddy in the Lord. No, you have become a husband, and of course she thinks that both of you have equal rights, and they have taught them in meetings that they also have a say and whatever. And then we should be able to renew our teachings, overhaul it. Our church teachers, our counselors should be able to get into an updated system of teaching where they can teach people how to meet up with the growing trend of issues in marriage. The institution of marriage is innovative, is going up, is changing different dimensions. You would not expect your wife to be, browsing every day on the net, and you, the man, you are running up and down. You don't even know what she knows, and then you think you don't need to know. Men need to know. You need to find out what the women are studying. You need to find out what the women know, and then you match up to some of these things. And some of you women, when you know some things, please be technical and teach your husband how to do some of those things. But you don't need to go and look for it somewhere. I know that there are also some difficult women who have decided, not to learn or not to change or not to adapt to new things. You say, no be so they be learner, no be so they be teach me. For with church, no be so they do them. No. There's nothing like, if you discover that your husband likes sex, please give him well. And try as much as possible to handle it correctly. If you discover that your husband is the type that looks at women that we were clean, because there are some men that are, they have this addiction for clean women. Please match up to it. match up to these things. Men, we also know you want to keep down your wife, especially professional women who are going up today. You also have to be technical. You have to be some things you have to let go. It's not everything you have to put your fingers on and hold it very strong. You want to have the culture. You know, that old culture that we used to have in our villages, like up in the northwest, where we had some strong cultures concerning the man over the woman. It's gradually giving way because of the growing trend of things on the net, in the society, even in the court today, when the judge, the mayor that is presiding over a case, he takes time to instruct people and even tell them to kiss in front of him, because there are some men that will never kiss a woman. They will only want to go direct. This thing a direct turn. As they talk, say turn now, or if you don't turn, the vex. They turn, they go. You know, this kind of arrogant attitude, this kind of old-fashioned ways, please learn some new things. Be dynamic. Learn some new styles. Learn some new issues that can make marriage sweet. Please, marriage ought to be sweet. It ought to be enjoyed and not to be endured. Learn it. Even in your church, they say you should not fix your hair. Please, when you're there for your house, fix your hair for your man, so that he doesn't look at those who fix their hair outside. We're calling on people to build, and I'm telling you, pastors have to be very careful how you go for counseling. Mobilize people in your church who are experts to handle expatriate issues. There are people who can talk to politicians. There are people who can talk to other class of people. Don't take every counseling and think that you should do it, especially when it comes to institutions like marriage. If you know you're not an expert, look for an expert. There is nothing wrong with calling your friend to come and help you out in certain cases you cannot handle. If you can call your friend to come and preach for you to raise money in the church, why can't you call your friend to come and teach your people on marriage? And sometimes do counseling in your church, so that they can help. Even though I know a lot of you are afraid that some of your friends have been coming to your church and then taking numbers of your members. That's okay. We know those kind of intricacies, but at least you should have one or two people you trust, that you think that you know that when they come, they have your interests at heart. That is exactly how some of these things are, because some of you want to just monopolize everything, and you let the church to be like, if Papa is not there, I tell you, nothing will work. Please don't do that. That is why most of us are dying, because we overstress ourselves. Okay, we want to kill ourselves.
Greetings to everyone. Sir, here is my little proposal for valuable marriage from the book of Amos 3. Can they agree, or unless the two agree? Okay, greetings to you and your panelists. True Talk, Madam Asanji says, letting God have a place in your marriage. However, some of our so-called men of God have replaced God in their churches and setting and misleading couples, especially the female folk. Examples are so many where we have seen these men of God controlling couples' homes and eventually leading the wives out of the marriage. Golof is writing from Bomenda. Special greetings, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. May God Almighty continue to bless you for these wonderful and educative programs always. Please, I disagree with the people need to study each other before getting married. Reasons being that our forefathers had the best of marriages, but their wives and or husbands were brought to them by their families without them knowing each other. I humbly think that it is the so-called civilization that is gradually destroying marriages nowadays. Prince David Derek is writing from Tico. This one is voting for Hope University Limbe. Another one says Siantu is the best. This one, another says Katuk Bamenda, and Catholic University Institute of the Diocese of Boya also. And we are looking at how to fix the existing problems. How do we also reconcile this huge influence that social media has brought in this institution called marriage, where the children are always connected to the social media, following lessons from wherever they can find it. The wife is always on phone in the house. The husband is also on phone, and building some very suspicious attitude. You see, when anytime the wife wants to look at what the husband sees, and vice versa, and it is, many persons are now living a virtual world.
Yeah, actually, that is the sad reality. But before I speak a little on that, I want to react to the message our viewer from Tico, David, says David also from Tico, who says our parents had the best marriages. That view is subject to a lot of debate, the thinking that our parents had the best marriages. I think we've said a few things on that here. Many things have come to the limelight now, and the aspect of saying that maybe because they didn't separate, they had the best marriages is still something to be looked into. Now, talking about the aspect of social media, you see, we are the one making social media to look like a challenge. We are the one who are transforming a blessing into a curse. We are the ones transforming a facility to something that is becoming a heart but not to crack within our relationships. Normally, there is much that we can use social media to benefit from and to grow our marriages, to make our marriages stronger. The only thing that is there is that many of us are not disciplined, we are not orderly, we don't know what we want. And this has to do with the system of values we represent. If your values are such that you know what you are looking for in life, you are hardworking, you know exactly the kind of things that can be harmful to you as a person first and foremost, and then to your relationship, you are going to be able to sieve and know what you are going to be looking for. And then at the moment where you are supposed to concentrate on social media, family time is not supposed to be replaced by interactions on social media. And if there is an urgency, you must be able to look for excuse. You can ask your spouse, please, I want to do this, excuse me. You cannot be such that your spouse is talking to you, your parents are talking to you, or that kind of thing, and you're on phone, you're on social media. First and foremost, it is disrespectful, which is repugnant to our African cultural values. Followed by the fact that when you not do that, the person also takes his own phone. At the end of it, or you people are on the same bed or within the same circumference perimeter, and you are far away as far as your heart and your emotions are concerned. This is a very serious vice that many people are supposed to work on as far as their relationships are concerned. We must be able to culture our use of social media. If you spend, as a spouse, you spend 3 hours a day on social media, and then you spend just about 1 or 2 hours talking to one another, how do you expect that you can build that marriage to the point where it becomes sustainable? There are things that come every day. You have issues to discuss about. In order to bond, you have to talk to one another. You have to discuss. You have to share ideas. You have to. In fact, as a couple, your communication is not supposed to be like a meeting. That there's agenda. There is an opening word and welcome, and then somebody is going to give the opening speech, discuss on this particular thing. Couples are people who should discuss over nothing and over everything. So if you don't have that kind of communication where you come back, you update one another on how your day was, you concentrate rather on social media, it's going to be eroding the foundation of your marriage. And before you know it, you will have gone too far to come back. You will have gone too far in the gap, the rift that you are creating between the two of you in that relationship. So the best thing is people should learn to be disciplined, and this has to do with intentionality. If you are not intentional about it, you are going to be creating problems for yourself and for your relationship without knowing that aspect of concentrating on looking at, you must scroll through the 500 messages you have on your ex-student WhatsApp group. You must go through every chat. You must leave your husband or your spouse, and then you are chatting with people here and there. Everybody else who let's say your spouse who came back and wanted to chat, you will feel cheated. The person will be feeling that you are disrespecting him or her, and then there's going to be a resentment that is being built inside of the person. And at the end of the day, you won't blame the person for feeling so, because at least with the heavy responsibilities we have just not so much time. The woman will get up in the morning, go to hustle. The man is also out trying to fend for the family. Then when you come back in the evening, or you have the least time, you won't spend the time with one another. It is a trap that we are laying for ourselves. And this goes back to the fact that we said marriage is work, and we have to work for it. And one of these domains is trying to say we maintain good communication.
Okay. People are voting so many. Sky High University is the best. Harvard Institute of Higher of Science, okay, is the best. Science and Technology, this one says Institute University of Gulf is the best. Harvard Higher Institute of Science and Technology is the best. The Love Doctor, many persons have written that marriages are no longer working. The foundations are coming down because of so much spiritual attack. And we see this manifested during the church services, where there's deliverance every day. Why are things not working? I am the one who came and destroyed. They will never have peace in the marriage. And is this institution not under spiritual attack, sir?
This is very technical, because
the institution is under attack now.
The thing is, most of the times it's very easy to blame Satan.
Okay.
It's so easy to blame Satan for choices we make. I believe that the forces of darkness is against everything good. It's not just marriage. There is always a negative aspect. There is always the Bible says God commanded light to shine out of darkness, and says that the God of this world has blinded the minds of the people from receiving the light of the glorious gospel. So I think the challenge is that, if as we're talking like this, some people have not even seen the seriousness of this matter, and they will still take it as a joke and go and enter and say Satan. I think what happens is that disconnection from the light of the glorious gospel. Because if until the good things that, as we're talking here, our underlying tone is that marriage is a beautiful thing. Because unfortunately, most of the people handling these marriage issues are passing across the vibe that it cannot be good, it cannot be nice. Everybody is live on Facebook talking about, you know, the negativity of this. I think we have embraced a notion that is affecting us, which becomes talks during deliverances. I think we must not only, the truth there is, marriage has a very significant part to play. But when we understand that we could also fulfill purpose without it, you will understand that God gave us the ability to make right choices. Thank God for the Holy Spirit. Thank God for knowledge. Thank God for understanding. In fact, he said he will give you shepherds who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. And then next verse, when you have increased in the land. So it's a beautiful thing. One shall chase 1,000, two shall put 10,000 to flight. I always say that marriage comes with a times 10 multiplication effect, not just times 2. So I think it is easy to blame the devil. Nobody is born and then Satan say you must marry this person. No. It means if you don't take responsibility, just like how we have seen here, for example, that fidelity, morality is not even a Christianity thing. It's a discipline thing. It's not because you have money that you must be an alcoholic. Look at the billions that Muslims have. Look at how there are a lot of people who are not going to church, but they regulate their appetite. So I think even the Bible did not give spiritual, for example, spiritual solution for youthful loss. It said flee.
Of course.
Flee. So it means that if we are being drawn to the youthful, I want to talk about the youthful as in less than mature, that can affect marriage. I think we must be able to build that emotional, that intelligence all round that can help. I think that's where the problem is coming from. That we should be transformed in the renewal of our mind by the help of the Holy Spirit.
So many persons are voting for Katuk Bamenda and the Catholic University Institute of the Diocese of Boya and Harvard Institute of Science and Technology. Out there, it should be my one in Bamenda. The Apostle and Valentine Ngwa, we see there is a decline in the moral standards in our society today, decline in the level of education, and one factor that is blamed for the moral falling standard is the parents, who are not taking time enough. They are not available to train these children up. And for the case of the system of education, we have the tendency of comparing our teachers when you and I were in class 1, the way how rigorous, steady the teachers were. Is this institution called marriage not also suffering from that aspect? Because before now, the mothers took time to speak words of wisdom to either their boy child, or the girls, and maybe indirectly preparing them for this institution. But today we have just so many persons out there on social media teaching on how this institution works. I don't know whether they are actually teaching or unteaching them.
Mr. Leo, that's a very important question. As a matter of fact, parents have spent time training their daughters to get married without training their sons. Most of the young men are never taught on how to manage a home. You will discover that keep telling that you are a girl, you will get married tomorrow. Learn how to cook, learn how to clean the house, learn how to wash your husband's dress. Your father is your first husband. Learn how to serve your father. But the boys are never taught anything concerning marriages. About marriage, sorry. People are taught, they are never taught concerning, most of the men. So a man grows up tomorrow, we think that because he's matured, he has the capacity to run and manage a home. They carry their naivety in the domain of marriage with their physical maturity to enter into a home that a girl has been trained on the other hand. As a matter of fact, from experience I have gathered, most of the persons who are being told that they will get married tomorrow are women. Yeah. You hardly hear they say a man will get married tomorrow. He's a woman. So they start questioning you. Learn how to control your menses. The mother will sit you down, how to control your period, how to cook food in the kitchen, how to clean the house, how to serve your father. They train the girl, they give her those basic responsibilities and trainings to carry home. The boy is either playing football, he joins a bad gang, he smokes cigarette, he goes to school, he comes back tomorrow, he gets a job, he graduates from school, and then they say he's ripe for marriage. So the woman is coming home as somebody who has been given basic training on how to live with a man, and the man is coming as a novice who has not been given any training on how to live with a woman. Now two conflicting individuals come and stay in the house, while the woman is making every effort to make sure she practices what she was given at home as protocols and principles of marriage. The man lives a very loose life. The man is never told to respect the husband, the wife, and keep fidelity. But the woman is ever told that don't ever cheat on your husband. So the man comes on with a cheating mentality, the woman comes on without a cheating mentality. A woman is told to serve her husband and to care for her husband. A man is never taught that. A man comes home with a bossy mentality and he comes to boss over the woman. That you realize that because of this improper upbringing between the two groups or the two parties in question, we face a lot of challenges tomorrow. I was never put down once by my father or my mother to be through marriage. And my sisters constantly have bells ringing in their ear. You are a girl, you don't react like that, tomorrow you stay in a man's house. You are a woman, don't be like that, tomorrow you stay in a man's house. They kept ringing that thing at the age of 10, 11, 12. The girl grows with it, knowing fully whether one day she'll be in somebody's house. But they never told the guy that one day a woman will be under you. So because of that, most people enter into marriages with one side heavily educated, the other side completely blank. Now when the man's idiocy is being explained because of his immaturity and inexperience, he begins to exercise authority to cover his stupidity, because most men take their position to cover their rubbish. A man cannot behave well. What you want to say, I'm the man in this house. You are the man does not mean that you are behaving very well. You can be a very stupid head.
Okay.
Mr. Lowe, let me land now.
Okay.
I have not landed.
Time.
One final thing I want to say is this. World Cup was organized in Qatar. Alcohol was not permitted. Qatar is not a Christian nation. Number two, nobody wore dresses that expose their body in Qatar. Qatar is not a Christian nation. Number three, nobody booked a hotel with a lady without a marriage certificate to attest that both of them were legally married. That is a Muslim nation organizing World Cup, and no form of immorality and moral no form of moral delinquency was permitted there. But we have had Christian nations like USA, Brazil, and other countries organize World Cup. We saw the worst of dressings, the publicity of alcohol and everything. This thing has to do with discipline, because we have so much preached Bible and we have not produced people who resemble the Bible. So how do you explain that there was moral stability in Qatar, being a Muslim nation, than when 1994 World Cup was organized in USA, a Christian nation? It tells you it has to do with the upbringing. Now tell me how many Muslim marriages are breaking as compared to Christian marriages. I'm talking as a clergyman, as a pastor. I will never change my faith. I believe in Jesus. But there are some realities we have to point out so that we can learn from other persons. Jesus said we should learn from those who are in the world.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu and other panelists. The best marriages existed in those days with our parents, where maximum respect was given, being given to husbands. My father got married to 3 wives and they lived happily. But this thing called human emancipation and social media has completely changed marriages and turned it to a contract. Dixon, writing from Kombe, and also good evening to you. Good evening, sir. I'm facing difficulties in my marriage. I have been married for a year, but my husband don't stay at home. Even when he comes home, he's on his phone playing games, drinking, and keeping late nights, and even deprive me from sex. How can I cope with this? Juliet is writing from Betwa. Juliet, you need to talk to a counselor. Good evening to you in the studio. Most marriages fail now because a lot of influence, most especially from the man's family, that cause strife between the couple. Rose is writing from Tico. Good evening to you in the studio. Most marriages fail now because a lot of people are not trained. This one says, I vote for God's Time University Institute in Mbengui. Okay, good evening to you. The best university is Siantu and Blantin, writing from Kumba and Katuk Bamenda. Okay, hello, the program is educative and interesting. Greetings to Apostle. Leslie is writing from Limbe. Good evening. That is a pertinent topic, but there are certain things they say that are embarrassing in front of children, okay? Good evening, sirs. I appreciate the lady talking about the manual for marriage. The herald for Christ at Bomaka or Ewane, a student evangelist with the Church of Christ. I abide with that lady. Shalom, okay? Good evening, sirs. I appreciate the lady talking about the manual for marriage, okay? Good evening to all of you. Hello, Mr. Liu. This man treats talk to me like I'm not a human being. Good evening, all in the studio. I'm Vanessa from Bamenda. Sir, please I write this to you all because I'm confused and tired where I am, and I don't have anywhere to go to. I have a child and I live with the father of this child. He is serious about us getting married, but he doesn't want me to do anything like work, and yet he doesn't provide anything except food. Please help me, tell me what I should do. You guys who have complaints, can you just call after I will share the numbers of the counselors for those in Bamenda. Madam Asanji can talk with you guys, but for you pay them for their consultation, please. Sir, if this is lack of resistance in any union or any aspect of life, okay, some of the messages are not too clear. Many persons are voting for Harvard University Institute, God's Time University Institute in Mbengui, Hope University in Limbe, and Katuk Bamenda Catholic University Institute also in Boya. We want to thank Mrs. Asanji for taking part in today's edition of the program, and also to you, Apostle Nambe Valentine Gwa, Apostle Alfred Singe, and the Love Doctor from Boya, Apostle Lefford Divine, and also to you, Reverend Ken. We are grateful for your participation this evening, and also to Eli and Desmond. We say we are eternally grateful for all the wonderful work you have been doing for My Media Prime TV, and to you, Tabi Tambe Bryant, supervising the work we do out there. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.